Hello guys, and this is Brian from Digimorphosis, and we're going to talk today about the H1R Nova rechargeable headlamp from Olight. To start with, I just want to go over what comes in the box with this little light. First and foremost, obviously, the headlamp itself. It's pretty small, as you can see. It's got a pocket clip, and what I do like about that is you can clip this to a front pocket of a t-shirt and it'll just shine forward. That's pretty handy for when you need to be hands-free but you don't necessarily want to wear it as a headlamp. But if you do, it does also come with an elastic band that you can wear around your head, and it's adjustable. You mount the flashlight right inside there. This is what it looks like when it's mounted. This is the regular H1 Nova, the non-rechargeable version, but they are visually identical. So that's what that looks like once it's all set up with that. And it does come with a feature that's become kind of popular in the latest offerings of Olights. A magnetic clip that you just stick right on the tail of the light like that. You can hear it snap right into place. And then the other end is a USB. You can plug this right into your computer or use any cell phone charger that you have and charge the light at will whenever you need to off of USB power. And the back here, that little light will glow orange when it's charging and will turn green once it's done. So that makes it very easy to just top this off on the go. One of my chief concerns when I did the review on the regular H1 Nova was that since it's powered by a CR123 battery, it doesn't have nearly the runtime, the capacity that the larger lights that use the 18650 rechargeable lithium ions have. And CR123s, when you buy single-use batteries, can be about around $3 a pop. A lot of places you get them, so it's kind of expensive to use a light like that. Whereas this light, I think one of the best benefits of it is it comes with its own rechargeable CR123, and obviously, like I was showing you, you can recharge it without ever taking it out of the light. And I just think that makes a light of this size far more practical because the reduced runtime is less of a problem if you have the ability to top the battery off whenever is convenient. And you can keep reusing the same battery that is included in the flashlight without having to keep buying new ones. That's a huge plus. Specs wise, we'll get into those. Like other Olights in the series, the H1R does have a turbo mode of 600 lumens. That's pretty bright for a light this small, but it can only sustain that mode for 3 minutes. Short turbo mode like the other lights in the series. The standby high mode that you get access to all the time is 180 lumens. Can run for 100 minutes, just under 2 hours. The medium mode is 60 lumens, pretty good all-around brightness for up-close uses. It can last for 5 hours, as with most medium modes. A pretty nice compromise of usable light, which you'll see shortly when we go outside, and runtime. The lower mode is 15 lumens for 20 hours. If you are indoors and just looking at floors, or you're outside and just need to look at the ground in front of you to see where you're going, that's usually sufficient. And 20 hours is a nice batch of runtime. It does have a 2 lumen moonlight mode for when the battery is low, and that can run for 6 days. And the triple click on this light as I was using it, rather than the strobe mode I've seen on others, it has an SOS mode, which is useful for if you are in a survival setting and need to signal for help. I thankfully have never been in that scenario, but if I ever was, it would be very tedious to have to manually signal that over and over, and it's nice to have a light you can just triple click the on-off button, which on this light is right at the top. Let me focus. And by clicking that, you turn the light on and off. Okay, we're outside. We're going to try out the low mode first, up close. I am about 2 feet from this bush. As you can see up close where this light is kind of meant to be, it does a really nice job of illuminating colors and detail. And at the ground at my feet, does a good job. You would definitely see where you're going. You wouldn't trip on anything. It provides enough light to be usable to see twigs, leaves, little divots, things like that. If you were camping, this would be more than sufficient to leave your tent if you had to go to the bathroom somewhere or had to go get something, to move around without bumping into anything. Not a lot of distance on it. Let me get over here a little bit so that we can look at some trees. I am about 6 feet from this tree. You can see that it's a little brighter in person than it is on the camera, but you can see that you can make the tree out. It's just you wouldn't get a ton of detail from it. But obviously it's the low mode. I'll click up into the medium. This is significantly better at this distance. A lot of illumination at the 6 to 8 foot range. You get detail, you get color now. You look at the ground, it's very bright, very easy to see where you're going. I think for a light like this that's meant as kind of an up-close light with a shallow bezel like this, that's a really nice diffuse balance of probably 6 to 8 feet of usable light on the ground, and then we get trees that are, let's get about 10 feet away. You can still make it out okay and see that it's there. If you were hiking somewhere and there's a lot of dark, there's some city light where I am. If it were darker, this would seem brighter, but it does a good job. When we look at a fence that's more like 20 feet from me, you can make it out. There's not a lot of detail. We'll take the light away, put it back. Now this tree right in front of me, we'll go up into high in a second so that you can appreciate the difference here. In person I can actually make out that there's vines on it and there's green. It's a little hard on the viewfinder to really capture that, but when we kick up into the high mode, you'll see what I was talking about. That is a lot more detail. You don't get a ton of runtime on the high mode with this light, but when you need a lot of light at that range, I'm going to back up till we're about 15 or 20 feet away. I'm going to go to about 20. You can still make that tree out okay. At that range, this is not a thrower. That's probably the maximum usable distance you'd really want to be using this light for, but you can make things out, and when you shine it more on the ground, you get about a 12-foot radius, 15 feet of usable light in front of you. Pretty much everything immediately on the ground around you, you could see. If you really needed a lot of illumination. Up real close, like right in front of you, it's a little overkill. You wouldn't use a high mode for this, but if you were trying to find something small that you dropped in the ground, then you'd probably use this mode and it would be useful. And real quick, we'll just triple click and put on the SOS mode. If you were ever lost somewhere in the woods or somewhere else and you needed help, you didn't want to have to manually signal, this mode is useful. Triple click, it will just keep cycling this on its own. You can leave the flashlight and hopefully someone would see it. I am inside quick to test these modes on a very close-up indoor setting. This is the low mode on the floor. As we saw outside, decent detail at your feet. With this mode, not a lot of distance, but in a dark home, it does the job really well. You probably wouldn't, for a lot of things, need a higher mode than this, but if you do want to kick it up into medium, it does a nice job there. You get a lot of color detail. You can make out textures on things on the floor, if that matters. High mode would be kind of overkill in a dark indoor setting, but I will show it just so that we have it. And you do get some reflection off of white surfaces with this mode, which is why I kind of thought it would be overkill, but and some reflection on the floor too, so it's not always great for that setting. Indoors, medium you'd probably want to use for that. Final thoughts on the H1R. This would not, for me, be an everyday carry light, and it doesn't have the kind of throw distance that I would look for in an everyday light. They don't have to be really far throwers, but as we saw outside, when it's not on the higher mode, this one does struggle a little bit with distance. It's not really what it's made for. I think this is a great addition to your collection if you already have everyday lights and you just need something for when you're working and you need both your hands. It's very convenient to wear the light on your head or out your front pocket. If you were I suppose camping, doing the same thing, setting things up, moving things in the evenings. It would be sufficient on the medium mode for hikes as well if you didn't want to have to hold the light in your hand the whole time. But to me, this fills more of a niche in your collection than being an everyday light. But certainly versus the regular H1R, the non-rechargeable version, I would recommend this simply because, like I said, one-time use CR123s tend to be expensive, and for this light, the ability to just recharge the same battery is huge. I've provided links in the description of this video for where you can pick up this light, and if there's any sales on it, check there first. And I hope you enjoyed this video. If it was helpful to you, if you've been considering buying a headlamp like this, please like the video, and if you'd like to see more reviews of this and other types of tech and gadgets, go ahead and hit the subscribe button because I will be publishing more soon. See you next video.